Greetings everyone, this is Jasmina, and in this video I'm going to talk about the difference between the house's period and period compliance. Now it's much more important to have a period compliant house or apartment or condo than a place that is of the current period. Now presently, and we are recording this in 2022, you want to activate your house as a period 9 compliant house or apartment or condo. And even though right now, if a new house is built, it's still a period 8 house. So it's a little confusing, but it works that way. Now, if you happen to have an activated form, that's very important, of one of these 4 special formations, you have an improved period compliance, or let's say it's a little safer. Here's an example. And in this case, we'd be talking about a Combo 10 house. In a Combo 10 house, you are likely to have something that or at least you have the possibility of have something that looks like this. That you have 2 5s and then the 9 is here. And when we're talking about period compliance, we're activating locations where we have a sitting or facing star 9. So this sector, if you have an activated Combo 10, you can activate this area without harm to your health or relationships, but you must have the activated form. This probably won't occur in any one of these, but I'm not going to guarantee it wouldn't happen. But this definitely can happen in a Combo 10 house. Now, if you have a Combo 10 house that has 1 or 2 missing sectors, or even more, you aren't able to activate the Combo 10, and now the 5s become harmful. And so they have a negative effect on your health and relationships. So this is why I've emphasized many times before that if you can do it, you want to activate one of these special 4 special formations because they're very powerful. Now, period compliance in general is achieved by changing the location of certain activities within your house. It doesn't mean redoing everything inside the house. It just is certain activities. Now, the reason why we have this problem between the period of the house and period compliance of the house is because there are 2 different calendars within Feng Shui. When it comes to your flying star chart, you obey the 3-cycle 9-period calendar. Everything outside the house, economy, politics, people's attitude, even to some extent how people live, that is governed by the 2-cycle 8-period Shuen Kong calendar. It does not have a period 5. So you can see there's problems with these 2. They each happen to last 180 years, which is good. Otherwise, it would be really hard to deal with. But there will be many times when the flying star chart in the Shuen Kong calendar chart or period doesn't match up. So here is the comparison of the 2 sets of dates. We have here on the left the 9-period, 3-cycle, and each one of these is 20 years. This determines your flying star chart. And then we have here, this period 1 is the only one that is less than 20 years. The rest of these are all greater than 20 years. And we have 3 years of 24 years, 3 years of 21 years, and then 1 year of 27, I should say, periods. And we only have an upper period, or upper cycle, and a lower cycle. So these are the dates, and you can see that in period 5 for the flying stars, it's actually divided in half between period 4 and period 6. So this is why there's these conflicts. Now they do match up on certain dates, that is, the calendars do match, but it's just at one period of time. And that's at the end of period 9 at the start of period 1. Every other year, they do not match up. Of course, there'll be periods of time, like for example, between 2064 and this whole period 2 actually does correspond to the Schwenkong period 2, and that is the only one. So the rest of these, you have to look at where the years overlap. So this will be 2086 to 2103. That's the only time this 3 and this 3 overlap, and so forth. So you can look at this and figure this all out if you're interested. Now, when the flying star period does not agree with the Schwenkong period, these conditions exist. The houses built during that time will acquire the 3-cycle period, a 9-period flying star chart. However, whether it's new or existing, the houses need to be activated according to the 2-cycle, 8-period Schwenkong system. Now, this is a bit of an aside, but this is, let's say, interesting, or it helps people understand things. When the Schwenkong period changes, the world outside your house changes. So we have to change to react to it, basically, if we want to be successful. And how it changes depends on the element of the period. We are now in the Schwenkong period 9, which has to do with change. And this started in 2017, and things have changed quite a bit. I now take regular classes that are online, which I never did before. There were classes that were online probably about 2017, but there were no classes that I needed to take. But we've had all kinds of changes. This war in Ukraine is sort of a change, because usually before this you would get a proxy country to fight your war if you were one of the big powers, because you were afraid of nuclear war. And we don't know what's going to happen, but we've had many period 9s in the past that we survived, so I think we can survive this one, especially if we can take care of the earth. Now, next period will be period 1, and that's basically flexibility. So this means that we're probably going to be able to adjust to all the changes from period 9. People become more flexible. Then we're followed by a period of stability. And everything is kind of back to quote unquote normal. Of course, normal will be different, but things won't change so much. Then we've got 2 periods of growth, which don't often have a lot of change. That is, the countries that are strong become stronger. The countries that are weak, they become stronger, but not as such a fast rate. So it kind of spreads the difference. Now, the next period, the next 2, will be metal. Now, there's very few people that are alive today that will be able to see these 2 periods, because this starts 100 years from now. So that's quite a ways away. There may be some children who will be alive, but they're not likely to be listening to this. But when we talk about strength, I mean, you think about metal. Metal is not only strong. If you apply enough heat and you apply pressure, you can bend the metal without breaking it. And this last period 7 that we had includes the 1960s, which in many parts of the world, things changed a lot. And it's in the United States, things really did change. I can only really talk about the United States because I haven't lived long enough in other countries to know. But this was a time where you had to apply a lot of pressure. There were tons of protests, there were riots, there was a lot of pressure on the society to change. And it did change. Then we have another period of stability. And of course, 180 or 100, yeah, about 180 years from now, we'll go back to a period of change. Now, to become compliant for period 9, your house must have one of the following in the sector where you have the facing star 9 with your current chart. Either if you don't have an exterior door, maybe you can create one, but you could also make this your home office or your hobby room, especially if you have an idea that sometime your hobby could become a side gig. You could also have a working desk. So let's say this is in a room that isn't really practical to have a home office or a hobby room, but if you put a desk there and you actually work there, then you can do it. Now, if your house already has an exterior door in this location where you have the facing star 9, you're already period compliant for wealth and your career. In the location where there's a sitting star 9 on your current chart, you need to have one of these, either a bed or a kitchen, and the range would be in that sector, or an exterior door, because exterior doors activate both the facing and the sitting stars. Now, your house will not change its flying star chart unless you do something to change the period of your house. It will stay the same until you do one of the following. You can re-roof your entire roof, and if you do not want to change the period of your house, and there are times when you don't, you have to make the builders do something a bit strange. You have to have them re-roof the roof in sections. That is, maybe you do half the roof, you put on the decking, maybe you put on some of the shingles or whatever, maybe not all of them, but at least some of them. And then you move on to the next half or the next section, and you do that. And you don't re-roof, you don't take off all the decking at one time. Then you can keep your period. And there are definitely houses where you don't want to change the period. But if you add or subtract more than 1/3 of the area of your entire house, you can also change your period, because that's a big enough change. And also, if you're outside your house for 90 consecutive days, and that doesn't include time when workers are in there. We mean basically everybody's out of the house, nobody's living there, nobody's working there. And so if you had one of these big things done and you were out of your house for 90 days, that usually doesn't count. But of course, these other things could do the change. But let's say you had a big remodel inside. Sometime it changes it, sometime it doesn't. It's a little bit hard to say. In general, I don't consider it that way. But if nobody's in the house except for perhaps someone just checking on the house a few minutes just to make sure there's no leaks and all the windows are intact and nobody has broken in, that kind of thing, then 90 consecutive days will do it. Now, if you're in an apartment or a condo, all occupants must be out for the 90 consecutive days. And that's quite rare unless something really serious has happened with the apartment. And if it's a re-roof, then yes, it will count. But most of the time, this will not happen in an apartment or a condo. Now, you don't need to change the period of house just because we enter a new period. Some people seem to think you do. But becoming period compliant is generally better because it doesn't cost as much and it's a lot less hassle. Maybe you have to move a few things here or there, but it's a lot less hassle than like re-roofing or adding, all these kind of things. You may consider changing the period of your house if you do not have an activated form of one of the special formations, and you can activate one of the current period's special formations. You really should contact a professional to know your options, because not all houses in a given period can have one of these permanently good special formations. And for example, we are coming up to period 9. All houses have the potential to be a 7-star robbery house, but half of those it will be a lot harder to get, simply because of where the appropriate layout has to be. And the 7-star robbery is actually a pretty hard one to get. There's a lot of problems or requirements on the interior of the house, and there are some external landform requirements, and then there are time requirements. So this all gets quite complicated. So that's basically it. I'd like to thank you for watching. Please feel free to contact me here if you have any questions, or visit my ad-free website. Also, if you subscribe, I will have regular monthly updates for things, and also some annual updates for other things. So it gives you a lot of information. Thank you again for watching.